Welcome to the Riff and Chips podcast crossover mini-series. I'm your host, Phil Vernon, and today's guests are Sonny Taylor and Gary Trelease, hosts of the Heavyist podcast. The Heavyist started way back in 2018, initially as a vessel for Sonny and Gary to push their musical agenda on the world. It's now grown into a reliable source of recommendations, reviews and interviews with a great community of followers who are also passionate about sharing their new musical discoveries. Join us as we discuss the rise and fall of the Portsmouth scene, not being able to take the lids off bottles, and the art of secret snacking. Sonny, Gary, welcome to Riff and Chips.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
No problem at all. Really wanted to get you guys on. Your podcast is one of the ones that kind of spurred me into podcasting. I've listened to it for a long time. So it's one that I've always enjoyed. And then when I was being encouraged by, Smittens and Mastiff and all those other reprobates to kind of start doing the chippy based one, I was like, yeah, fuck it, why not?
Hell yeah.
So yeah, long time fan, first time chatter, I guess.
Yeah, man, it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside, Phil. Thank you very much.
Oh, good. I like that feeling, yeah. So we'll start as usual with how you kind of both got into heavy music. So we'll start with you first, Sonny. How about you? What was your kind of introduction to all things heavy?
Well, I live in Portsmouth, right? I moved to Derby for a couple of years. It was like year 7, up to year 7, right? And then I moved back to Portsmouth in year 8. And up to that point, like year 7, I was just like, I was literally just obsessed with Eminem. I didn't really know what music was outside of just listening to Eminem like a buttload. And then moved back to Pompey, started a new school, new friend group, was dropped in with these people. And the people that I ended up hanging out with, they go, they give you like a little, this is going to be your mate. He's going to show you around the school so you don't get scared and wee yourself and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And turned out they were all bang into System of a Down. New metal was just hitting.
Yeah.
And they were completely into it. And I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
So I slowly got taken in by the new metal of it all. And we all just at the same time grew a real, almost religious obsession with Metallica. We just worshipped Metallica. And it just sort of spurred on from there. A couple of years later, it was sort of the MySpace thing, and one day you're listening to Nirvana, and then the next day you're listening to Suicide Silence, and you just don't know what's going on.
The core stuff.
Yeah.
With all the MySpace stuff, did you ever used to hit up HXC MP3? That was always the one.
All the time.
That was
all
the one for me.
Time.
I found out all my metalcore fantasies kind of came from that. Because you could search, because bands would upload, this is kind of who we're similar to. So who sounds like Darkest Hour? And then all of a sudden you get all these bands. It's this is easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Loved that website so much.
Yeah, so good. How about you, Gary? How did you get into things?
Well, I'm from Essex, and where I come from, being into heavy music was absolute social suicide. You would get bullied for carrying your bag on both shoulders. That was the kind of place that I came from.
Strict enforcement, yeah.
Very, very much so. My first love was UK garage, which
big up.
It sounds a bit sad to admit, but that's just what everybody was into when I was at school. So it was the thing. But I remember. So my first kind of foray into heavy music was I spent a night with one of my friends downloading songs ironically to laugh at them. We downloaded Twist by Korn. I remember thinking that was the most hilarious thing I'd ever heard in my life.
And your opinion never changed.
But the thing is, I never deleted them off of my computer. And we had a good laugh. Oh my God, listen to this music. It's so stupid. But then I kept coming back to them. And before I knew it, I'd accidentally become a massive fan. And I think one of my best friends at school, his older brother was really into metal. And he lent me $3 bill, and from then on I was just kind of absolutely hooked. Metal and that whole kind of scene was the most important thing in my entire life. I went to my first show was at Wembley. It was Incubus when they toured Morning View. That was the one.
Was that 311?
Unbeatable.
It was. It absolutely
and
was.
Hooverstank.
311 and Hooverstank.
Yeah, I saw that show in Manchester at the Apollo. Yeah.
Oh mate, it was incredible. I'd never been to any live music aside from we used to go to the social club around the corner where we used to listen to bands do blues music and stuff. And before and so I went to that show, and it was Wembley Arena. It was absolutely heaving, and I was kind of terrified, but also kind of loved it. Like, I think I was like 15, maybe 16, trusted to go with my mate's older sister, who immediately lost us the second we got there. Like, she just didn't want to be like 15-year-old kids in tow. She was like, no, I'm not looking after you. Like, you'll be fine. And yeah, I just kind of was a massive child of nu metal, loved it, really into like the UK nu metal scene as well, which I had a little listen back to a couple of the albums that I thought were the best albums in the world in the prep for this. And I was like, oh my God, they were bad, weren't they? Like Vindication by Vacant Stare.
Oh, I was going to put that. I was going to say to you, like, I was going to throw in there as that being almost the peak.
Mate, honestly, that album is amazing, but only because of the nostalgic the feelings that it conjures, not because it's actually good. Like, they were.
Me and Dave, the singer in 100-Year-Old Man, still chat about Vacant Stare quite a lot, and a lot of that UK new, like, so bands like that, Number One Sun,
Majority of One was another one on my list. Buy Now Saved Later by 1 Minute Silence was a really big one for me. I loved that album. I used to do a paper round, and I had like a CD Walkman. So obviously your paper round takes you like a couple of hours, but a CD lasts half an hour, so you got to listen to it 4 times, because I'm not carrying around a load of loose CDs while I do my newspapers. That's ridiculous. So I just listened to. And then another one, which is kind of awkward to bring up, is the Fake Sound of Progress. That album was really important to me.
I mean, hugely, massively,
What happened, but that album.
When you take it on face value for what the music was and what it was at the time,
if you remove all of the extra, bad shit that goes alongside that band, but that album was a really important one for me, kind of bridging the gap between being into nu metal to kind of get into sort of post-hardcore and that side of music. And
that drags you straight into the Glassjaws.
Absolutely, Well, that was the next step. Obviously, Glassjaw being on Roadrunner was a thing as well, because you're like, oh, Roadrunner, I see their little logo in the corner of a lot of the albums that I like. Let's check out a few more of the bands. And then Glassjaw were like, whoa, holy crap, I never heard anything like this in my entire life. And I was obsessed. I was a Glassjaw obsessive for a good 5 years. I still am now, really, if I'm honest.
I think I remember buying Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Silence and Height of Callousness by Spineshank on the same day. And then I think I just alternated those 2 CDs in my CD Walkman probably for about a month. I was just absolutely obsessed with both. Throw Revolution in there as well. And
oh my God. Oh,
that was just like a three-way swap.
These like synaptic paths in my brain are just sort of all firing right now. Every time you mention another one of these bad nu metal albums from back in the day, which I was really into.
I'll be cutting out the bad. As part of the edit. Sonny, what was your first show?
So one of the first shows I went to was like, it wasn't really necessarily a heavy gig. It was Black Rebel Motorcycle Club that I got invited to. But the interesting thing was they were being supported by an unknown at that time Kasabian.
Right.
And then like Kasabian like ended up being like really big. But like, if we're talking about the first show that was actually like rock music, I think it was Sum 41 they played the Guildhall. Gary, did you go to that? Were you
no, that was before my tenure.
That was before you were down, wasn't it?
That's I was like, to me.
Yeah, I think it was Sum 41 at the Guildhall.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
I remember I got taken by my mum's friend, who was like an older dude, not in a noncy way, and he did me the kind honor of buying me a bootleg T-shirt out the front, which was absolutely sick.
Amazing.
I remember it being like, remember you used to get baseball shirts, the sick 3/4 length baseball shirts. I had a knockoff Sum 41 3/4 length baseball shirt, which I thought was the absolute bollocks.
But you look sick in that.
It went hard as fuck, dude. It was so sick.
Was that on the kind of that sort of breakout All Killer No Filler tour? Or was it the one after it that was actually pretty metal?
Yeah, it would have been that one. Yeah, I was definitely quite the nipper.
Yeah,
like not old enough to be trusted to go to an actual gig on my own.
Yeah, it sounds like we all started going, the same sort of age and around the same sort of time as well. That kind of like 2002 maybe sort of time.
Yeah.
Outside of your little segue to Derby, Portsmouth has been your main scene right the way through. So
yeah, 100%.
I think Portsmouth has had a few peaks and troughs in terms of shows. I think I had this bit of a chat when I was chatting to Josh from Grove Street. I think because he's kind of that sort of way.
Because they're from Southampton, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, but he was saying there's been spells where Southampton's been where most of the shows have been, and then there was the spell where Portsmouth was where all the gigs were at. And
when it was pure MySpace glory days. I was in college. Like, you would look at the back of a Kerrang like every week when it came out on a Wednesday, go straight to the new gigs. And a lot of the times, if you saw a gig that you were interested in, sorry, a tour that you were interested in, there would, you know, there'd be like a Wedgwood Rooms day in Portsmouth, or there'd be a Pyramids day. Like, we like was lucky enough to see all of my favorite bands growing up. Like, I remember like Darkest Hour, Bleeding Through, Job for a Cowboy, Black Dahlia, Alexis loads of times, The Bled loads of times, Mike Hem, and that, like all the like Killswitch played there. Yeah, we used to get some really good shows. That is absolutely not the case anymore. I think the last
no, it's really not.
We went to watch Obituary. I think that was last year.
It was, yeah.
I was talking about that with someone the other week because they did that huge tour, like, didn't they? Just playing like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, they played everywhere as well. Like, they really put the effort into making sure
Carcass
that they
did a similar one, didn't they?
Yeah, it's like, but that was the last time that a gig came through Portsmouth that would have kind of satisfied our tastes. So usually we have to mission to Bristol, or we have to go to London. It's kind of dying a death, really, to be honest, around here. It's a bit
100%. It's dying on its ass, but Southampton is getting loads of brilliant gigs. Like Southampton is doing really, really well. Like, especially like deathcore bands are playing there that you'd expect not to be bothering with Southampton. Like, it's doing really, really well.
Because what's that kind of more mid-sized? Because obviously there's Joiners. Is it Engine Rooms? Is it, or something? Is that a slightly bigger venue?
Yeah, that's the one that used to be the roller rink, isn't it? The Engine Rooms. It used to be like a roller city where you go and.
Oh no, that would be cool, wouldn't it?
Roller skating circus, yeah.
Just every show like every show like the Evil Armor video. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's a good venue actually. That, and what's the other one? 1865. That's what it's called, I think, isn't it? Which is a kind of similar, maybe slightly smaller capacity. We went there a little while ago when Mastiff were touring supporting Avatar, and I'd never been to that venue before, but I quite liked it. It had that sort of like grimy carpets and the bar only does cans kind of vibe, which you kind of like.
It was also like a theatre though. It felt like you were going into a theatre but buying cans of Strongbow. Like, it didn't like. It was an odd vibe, but I did enjoy it. Yeah, there's a good like wealth of different size venues. Like in Southampton, they can sort of facilitate anything really. I will stand by that the Guildhall is fucking dog shit though.
I hate that
Absolute worst. I think worst sound in the planet. Southampton Guildhall.
Trash. That's absolute trash.
Never.
I went to see Alexis there a couple years back when they were touring the new album, and it was obviously like I just thoroughly enjoyed myself. Even I was completely sober, and I still, could see past the terrible sound just because it was, I just enjoyed myself so much.
Obviously, you're in Portsmouth now, but you said you kind of grew up in Essex. So did you start going to shows more in the southeast?
Yeah. It was like getting on the train, going into London, going to, like the Astoria, Mean Fiddler, Garage, that kind of world. And then as I got more into the local scene and stuff, we'd go to Chelmsford and Southend because they had more like gig venues and go and see bands. Like, I remember one of my favourite gigs that I've ever been to in my entire life was at Chinnery's in Southend, which is right on the seafront. I think they've classed it up a bit now, but back in the day it used to be quite grimy, but in a good way. And I went to see Sixth. I adored her, and they were supported by Hopesful and Gyrus. Imagine that as a bill.
I think I remember seeing that tour. Yeah, it was insane.
It was
Gyrus
so good.
Was such a good band.
Oh, Gyrus were incredible. They were like massively underrated. And the trouble is their album isn't on Spotify, is it? So if you want to listen to it, you've got to either dig out the CD, which mine are all in my garage somewhere, or I don't know, watch that video on YouTube of the album, but it sounds really bad. But then the album wasn't produced very well in the first place, was it? But it was just the quality of that band shone through.
For anyone that's not heard Gyrus, so it's Jairus kind of.
That's what I wanted to ask. I wanted to stop you then and say, is it virus with a J? Because that's what I was hoping.
No. So it's kind of, but with an A as well. So it's like,
The album is called "The Need to Change the Map Maker."
It is, yeah.
It's fucking amazing. The UK classic. It's incredible.
If they were around now, or if they decided, we're going to have a bit of a comeback or whatever, they'd be like an Art Tangent book.
Oh, for sure.
So like, if you're an Art Tangent sort of person, just go try and find out. Like I was saying, it's a bit harder to find now. Didn't they do a few years back? Didn't they come up and do like a bit of an EP or something that came a bit later?
Yeah, they had a little bit of a comeback, and I think they did do an EP, but
because I remember that being decent as well.
Yeah, it was good for sure. Like, I don't know why I've never really revisited it. I don't know if I ever think if the mood ever takes me and I'm like, oh, let's listen to Gyrus. I'll load up the need to change to the map maker on YouTube and listen to that.
Yeah.
You
Had
need to
go
catch the gyrus.
I always used to have to go to YouTube or dig out the CD to listen to the Viatrophy EP.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the album,
yes.
the album was always on Spotify, but the EP wasn't. And the album's great, but the EP is like, it's
Yeah.
perfection. I think it's one of my favorite EPs if I was like challenged to list some. And I've noticed that just a couple of months ago, I think I went to listen to the album and saw that the EP was on there. And I think it's
Oh my God,
arguably,
it happened. It
yeah,
finally happened.
it's arguably been a weekly
Amazing.
thing. And it should, just like, being by myself, it's like, oh, this
That's
reliance
amazing.
on Spotify. It's like, I have got the physical media, but like you say, I'll listen to records much more, but all my CDs, I finally, a couple of years ago, after moving around multiple houses, caved and got rid of all the boxes and the jewel cases and did just put them all in wallets. So I've still got the CDs in the wallet.
Yeah.
So I refuse to like throw them away. And I initially wanted to try and keep the booklets and the CD in the wallets, but then the wallets wouldn't close because they were like this thick. So I just had to like...
And now you need storage for your wallets, and you've created an entire problem.
like a wallet, yeah. So the one thing I always have to go to, tying back to the new metal before we move on, that I always have to go and dig the CD out for, and will do it regularly, is Elux by Human Waste Project.
Oh, wow.
Because again, that's not on everything, and I get the need to listen to One Night in Spain quite regularly.
Nice.
So how did you guys meet?
How did we meet, son? I remember the first time we met, someone was having a party and you
Gary
gave
was
me
in his
like
pants.
yeah. Well, I've been
I
in the
came
hot
round
tub.
to buy weed at a house that he lived in, and it was quite rowdy, and he was in his pants and came in the front room and told everyone to shut up.
Yeah. The
Amazing.
thing is, I live with this guy who worked like nights and sold weed, and I worked normal hours, and he used to like have everyone come over like 2 a.m. after he finished his late shift, and I just must have developed some sort of reputation as just being this grumpy bastard who lived in the other room. I would just emerge every now and then and tell everyone to shut the fuck up because I had to get out for work in the morning.
He
Amazing.
would just do it in his pants though. No top. He wouldn't
My
care.
house,
He was living
what am I
it.
gonna
Yeah,
do?
he was,
Fuck it.
yeah. I respected him so much. But then, like a couple of years go by, and then we met at a party.
Yeah, I had a I Wrestled a Bear Once t-shirt on, and you gave me like a high five for wearing it, which was cool. And then we both joined the same band, like completely unknown. And we're like, a mutual friend started a band, and he was like, oh, we're going to have our first practice. And I turned up and you were the vocalist, and I was there to play bass. And we've just kind of been best mates ever since, really, haven't we?
Yeah. We bonded very heavily over the making of tea. When you're like a vocalist in a shit band that are trying to write music, you don't really have a lot to do for probably 70% of the practice. So, you put a lot of effort into the tea.
He was very good at it. He made a top quality cup of tea.
Had a lot of practice. Yeah. What was it that spurred you on to start doing the Heavyist then? Because, so I think of all the kind of pods that I've chatted to as part of this crossover series, you guys have the longevity, because I think, have you been going since, what is it, 2018? Something like that?
We've been doing it a while.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that your episodes are not only in the 3 digits, but they're past 250 now is insane.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
don't like thinking about it. That's kind of insane. If you had it all together, that's probably like a solid week of time that we've spent doing podcasts or something, isn't it?
Well, I mean, starting it in 2018, you were kind of ahead of the curve, really. Obviously the choice, especially with like people like me coming along and jumping onto the bandwagon, has become more over the past few years. But what was it that kind of drove you into getting into start doing it?
I went through like when I moved away, right, for a while, and I was working a job where I was like driving a van like a bunch, and I basically stopped listening to like new music for absolutely ages. And I just got like, I would just listen to like Black Sabbath and Creedence Clearwater Revival and drive a van around, and like
you had one Lamb of God. I remember
like,
you had that.
Like a few albums that I had on CD that were with me at the time, and I would just listen to them like endlessly. And I kind of started really getting into like stonery like stuff. Like I was like sort of rediscovering sort of like stoner bands, like like bluesy stoner like heavy rock bands. Basically, me and Gary would spend like a huge amount of our living days just sending each other music. Like, I'd be like, oh, have you heard this? Have you heard this? Have you heard that? Have you heard that? And there was just this huge wealth of like brilliant stuff that like nobody in the UK was really talking about, like, at all. Like,
Yeah.
it was insane. Like, I was probably quite naive because there probably was other outlets and things like that. But there was, like, from what I was constantly like discovering, it was like the complete opposite to what you would see covered in the major outlets. And like,
Yeah.
we were just like, we got really, really obsessed with like the band Left Behind, Varials, like that sort of like whole
Yeah.
sort of moshy, brilliant stuff that was happening at the time. And
We had a playlist which we used to put stuff into, which was Office Crowd Kill compilation, and that was like our because we
yeah,
both were just working jobs where we were not particularly engaged and just
Yeah.
kind of doing it because you had to, and we'd spend most of our like intellectual energy searching out new bands that neither of us had ever heard before.
Yeah.
And Sonny was just really into the idea of doing a podcast about anything and everything really. And we were kind of like, well, we spend all this time looking into this new music anyway. And like I used to listen to like That's Not Metal, and I liked the idea, but they never talked about the kind of music that I was into. It was all more mainstream type stuff. And we were just like, why don't we do a podcast about the music that we find? And we're like, yeah, Sonny. I mean, we did like it took us 5 episodes to get the bottle to actually post it on the internet, didn't it? Like,
yeah, we made 5 in
Wow.
a studio. We had no, so the first few we did it.
In your living
we did
room.
it in my front room with not even our kit. A guy that we used to live with, Jason. He bought a podcast setup, but then never actually made his podcast. So he like had this stuff, and like
Yeah.
I remember me and Gary, we just did like a pilot episode in the front room, just sort of having a laugh. Talked about, I think, I Am and Left Behind.
Yeah,
And
end.
we did a bit of like a thing that turned into like this section that we did like called Hype Train, where it would be like talking about the new things. And yeah, it was like, there wasn't really much to go on. It was really basically like, this band has got like one song and they're going to fucking be like, they're going to blow up. And it was like that and Boundaries, I think at the time.
Yeah.
They just put out Hartford County Misery.
So
And
people should listen to us because we're on the pulse.
I was like, let's record a bunch and then see what we think about it. We don't have to put it out. We can not put it out. And then like, yeah, just was quite happy with it. What we're up to. We sort of found our feet a bit.
Yeah. Because have you ever really kind of taken any breaks in that time? Or have you just been like generally try and stick something out once a week over the past kind of
Pretty
7
much.
years or whatever it is now? Yeah.
Aside from, holidays, the occasional reason that we can't get an episode up, we do tend to do it every week. Well, the thing is now, like longevity wise, like Sonny's just had a baby. My wife's like a full-time wheelchair user and she needs quite a lot of help from me. So we kind of don't get to see each other much as friends. So we kind of just have these chats that we would do if we were mates. So we just happen to record them and post them on the internet. So
Yeah.
it kind of gives us a really good like inbuilt excuse to be like, no, not tonight. Me and Sonny are doing podcast. And it's just become a really good way of us just staying really close friends and just keeping this like love that we have for music alive. Otherwise, a lot of people sort of get to the kind of late 30s, 40s where we're sort of heading to and just give up on new music, don't they? And they're just like, I'm just going to listen to the 5 albums that I liked when I was 21 and not listen to anything new. And
I think the good thing about
that's
the
a real
format,
shame.
the good thing about the format you're doing as well is like you're never going to run out of content because
exactly.
every week new records come out.
No, we got the opposite problem, man. We've got the absolute opposite problem. There's way more music that we can keep up with. Like our schedule just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Like, right, realistically, we could probably do like 3 albums a week, but like there's a
If
week
8
in a
good
couple.
ones come out.
Yeah, exactly. The 21st of March, we've got like 10 albums in the schedule we want to talk about. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
But like it's like a brilliant problem to have, isn't it? When you like to do commentary about amazing new music.
Yeah. Well, as you touched on there, one of the big things that you do is talk about new music. So one thing we're trying to do as part of this crossover is bring in some features from the pods for the guests that we're chatting to.
Yeah.
So we had a chat beforehand and we were like, let's bring a couple of albums each. So I think you guys have fired 2 over between you. I thought I'd bring 2 to the table just to briefly chat about for a few minutes. Do you want to start with one of your ones first?
Yeah, absolutely. Son, what do you reckon? Should we talk about Open Casket to start with? Because so there's this, we got sent this by a PR company and I was immediately like, oh, look at that album artwork, it's bloody hard. So we checked it out and the band were described by the PR company as beatdown death metal. I was like, hello, that sounds like a bit of me. Like, yeah, all right. you've got me with those 3 words. I'm into it.
Yeah.
So I checked it out. So they're a 5-piece band from Arkansas, and they got an album out, came out at the start of February. It's called Trials of Failure. And basically, they're just one of the hardest bands you've ever heard in your life. Like, they just, their music is so stupidly aggressive. You can just imagine like mosh pits erupting like volcanoes when you listen to it. And that's kind of, I like that carnage-filled energy that they've got going on. Like, there's times when the songs randomly change tempo in the middle, and you're like, okay, most people will go like, I'm not sure if that's the best like song structure move, but they're just doing it to make the mosh pits go, and I love that about it. And I think that they're just ridiculously hard. One of the bands that we talked about when we were sort of inspired by the podcast was Varials, and they have an album called Pain Again, which, if you haven't checked it out, is amazing. If you like Knock Loose, like, you should also go and check that out. It's awesome. And this Open Casket record kind of gave us both like shades of Pain Again by Varials, and we just both fell in love with it.
Very much like moshy hardcore with just absolutely drenched in death metal. We're at a place right now where you can't like go to the shops without bumping into 3 death metal bands that like are playing hardcore, or hardcore bands that are playing death metal. Like, there's so much of it right now, but because there's so much of it, like, there's just these bands are just outdoing each other left, right, and center. And I really feel like that this Open Casket record is like the jewel in that current crown. Like, if people were interested in like bands like Tribal Gaze, 200 Stab Wounds, well, maybe not 200 Stab
like
Wounds,
Terminal Nation, stuff like that.
Yeah, Terminal Nation's a good shout.
100%. Termination
that's
is
sort of
probably
HM2 kind of death metal by hardcore
Absolutely.
kids. One of the best descriptions, like looking into it a bit, and I was the same. I enjoyed the record, and I think maybe touching on what you said, Gary, I think for me, certain parts it lost me. Now, it's not something I listen to a lot of. It needs to be something quite stand out that to kind of get me. And straight away, like you say, it goes in hard and it stays hard. And I think some of those ones, like, there are a few parts on there where I'm like, that's a really weird, as a musician, like, that's a really weird decision to make.
Yeah, absolutely.
But 3 people will lose their teeth to that moment. In the clip.
So maybe it wasn't such a weird decision. But one of the best descriptions I saw when I was kind of reading into it and reading a few reviews and what people thought of it and stuff was that they're an Acacia Strain support slot in waiting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they just take all those hardcore death metal crossover bands, don't they? And I was like, that absolutely sums it up. So
absolutely.
100%.
If you want to know, but yeah, that classic, HM2 kind of death metal played by hardcore kids, you know what you're going to get. You're not going to be disappointed.
Nah.
So that's Open Casket, Trials of Failure. One of the ones that I want to bring to the table is Crossbringer. I think it's Helismus Aeternus.
I'm glad you were the one who had to pronounce that.
Yeah, let's go with that. So for anyone not aware of Crossbringer, they're kind of spread across multiple countries. I think there's people in Russia, Germany, Belgium. So I don't think they play live a lot, if at all. I'm not too sure. Love the previous release. So they put out an album in 2000 called Signs of Spiritual Delusion. So I was really excited for this. It didn't disappoint. I think for me so far, it's one of the best things I've heard this year. If you're a fan of kind of like discordant, dissonant, ethereal sort of black metal, if you like, so to reference a UK band, if you've heard that latest Still record, A Theft.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's very much on that sort of level. Or German bands like kind of Downfall of Gaia, Nidare. I think the Downfall of Gaia drummer is actually on this new record.
Mike, the most gorgeous man in the world, Kadnar, is the drummer of this band, which is very exciting. And also Lena, the vocalist, is the vocalist of Predatory Void. Which
Predatory Void.
They're part of that sort of Church of Ra scene, and that in Belgium. And I can't believe that I hadn't come across this record on my own before you suggested that we talk about it, because really I should have. I feel like I've let myself down, if anything. But like, this album is absolutely fucking wicked. It's so good. I just love how like maddeningly chaotic it is, and then all of a sudden something just happens and it just goes into this like beautiful melody out of nowhere. It turns on a dime, but it does it perfectly.
And the production is outstanding.
It's really, really
like even when it's hectic, the clarity is insane. Like you can hear every change, every note. Like it's a bit of a masterpiece, really.
Yeah, it's a very good record.
I got big Oathbreaker vibes off it. Oathbreaker with the black metal turned up and somebody pressed the dissonant button. It's it's a winner, dude. It's an absolute winning situation.
Like Ouija Dude were almost like the black metal bits of Oathbreaker, because again, it's that thing. So again, if you love those like Ouija Dude, the heavier parts of Oathbreaker, Celeste, bands like that, like it's all very much in that vein. So I couldn't recommend it more to anybody.
Yeah, it's a
So
banger.
that's Crossbringer, and I'm going to try and pronounce it again. Helismus Aeternus, I
Good
think
work.
it is.
Nice.
What was the second record you guys wanted to bring to the table?
We wanted to talk about In His Blood by Vacuous. Are you familiar with Vacuous before this record? Had you heard them?
I'd seen their name around. I can not give or take death metal. I have to, one, be in the mood, and two, it has to be the right sort of thing to grab me.
Okay, yeah.
So
that's
I
fair.
end up not swerving it, but I don't end up exploring it as much as I should.
Yeah, maybe the thing that happens is there's so much of it and so much of it has buzz around it that you kind of switch off a little bit. But
It's hard to know where
I
to
would
start.
absolutely say that this Vacuous record is one of those ones that you need to, that sits atop the pile. I think Tom from Celestial Sanctuary, who you've had on your show as well, right?
Yes.
He was on our show, and whenever he comes on the show, he's our death metal correspondent, right? So we get him to tell us who are the next like hype bands that we should all be checking out early before, they're signed to $20 spin and everyone's obsessed with them. It's like, and one of the ones he brought to us was Vacuous. And we talked about Dreams of Dysphoria, their previous record, on the show, and I really liked it. But then this record, the step up that this band have made in terms of just like sheer ideas and like not being scared to push a boundary and have a go at something like really different is incredible. They signed to Relapse in between records. I'm really proud that this is like one of the representations of UK death metal that we have out there on like a bigger platform like Relapse.
Yeah,
like obviously
sure.
you've got like Slime Lord, who are on $20 spin, and then Celestial Sanctuary have recently signed to Metal Blade.
Yeah.
And now we got Vacuous on Relapse. Like, it's really exciting to see. Death metal is hype, but most of the biggest bands, Undeath, Frozen Soul, they come from America. They're mainly American bands, and it's really awesome to know that as death metal is predominantly an American scene and an American genre, that we are representing, and we're representing fucking hard, because this album is really, really cool.
I loved it when you sent the email to be like, oh, we're going to kind of chat about this record. I was on my way to Black City, which is an incredible record shop in Bristol.
Okay.
And they had, when I walked in there, they had a few copies of the record. And I wish I'd had listened to it beforehand, because then I will go back and pick it up. Because
you need to go back and get one.
Yeah. So I've actually, since you sent it to me, I think I've listened to it 3 or 4 times. I listened to it twice today. I think if there was like a death metal to black metal like swingometer, I'd argue that it would swing more towards black metal than it does death metal. It's definitely kind of blackened death metal. Some of the part, in the way that the song structures are, the kind of general mood of it, the vocals are sick.
Yeah,
he does the quite typical low death metal stuff, but the kind of other tone, whatever you want to call it, that he does for the majority of the album. Fuck, it's so good. It's so good. A couple of standout tracks for me, like if anyone wants to go to them immediately, Contraband, which has this real slow build up, quite bass driven, and you don't normally hear a lot of bass in death metal, especially not like it's normally so lost in the mix.
You listen to Cannibal Corpse, and his bass always likes to pop, but for the most part, it's not like a really big prominent instrument in the genre.
But that builds all the way up really nicely, very black metal-y, and then it just drops into like a kind of huge blast section. And the closer, is it No Longer Human or whatever, is really great as well.
Yeah, man.
I loved it. Like, I'm definitely going to listen to it again tomorrow probably, and I'm definitely going to go and get the record for sure.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I love what they did on this record, man. There's a real sort of like gothed up vibe to it. Like there's these really cool synth beds, and there's this like just sort of slight change in direction, which has given them like really more of their own sound. Like they've always been sort of very much drenched in like atmosphere, but I think the atmosphere is like just sort of shifted to like a more of a purplish hue on this record, and it's there, dude. It's like even down, like I love what this band is doing, like even down to the artwork on this album. Like you look at it, it's like just, you don't look at it and think, oh, that's a death metal record. Like 9 out of 10 death metal records, you look at it and you go, that's definitely, I mean, if that's not a death metal record, I'll eat my ass. And like, it's a really cool like cover. It could be a Cure cover. It could be a 9 Inch Nails cover. Like it's just a really interesting sort of like iconic, striking piece of imagery. I love it. I love what these guys are up to. And like, I sort of said this before on our podcast, but like inside of, the genres that we love, there's so many bands doing so many things that are so similar. And really, as much as we'd like to admit that like everyone needs to be incredibly unique and do their own thing, really what they need is sort of 2 or 3 sort of additional flavors or just little flourishes that really make their own sound their own. And I think what they've done on this record is hone that. and it's just fucking just unreal. It's like really, really well executed.
Yeah, definitely summed up perfectly. So that's Vacuous, In His Blood. It is out now on Relapse. So again, please go and check that out. And then the last one I wanted to bring through, a bit less obscure, but equally as amazing. So it was the new Bleeding Through record, 9. I know it's a couple of weeks old now, but
Yeah.
fucking hell, like, I wasn't expecting it. Like, I think with any of these bands, not that they've just come back, obviously I know it's the second record since the return or whatever, but I've realised that it's best to go in not expecting anything, and then you're
100%.
disappointed.
Yeah. Do not go in
Yep,
expecting a
me.
10. Like,
This is almost front to back. There's not really any filler on this record. The songwriting is superb. Some of the best I think they've probably done in terms of consistency. It's the same stuff you don't expect. It's fast, there's blast, loads of kicks, big riffs, huge breakdowns, some absolutely trademark Brandon kind of cringy vocals in parts.
yeah, like
You're never going to get a record without that kind of fuck with us and find out
iffy
thing. Man. I was
lyrics
just like
that.
yeah, it's like the third track or something. I was like, oh, it's not too bad here. You know, even the choruses are quite cool. And then it got to that and I was a bit like, oh man, but it wouldn't be a Bleeding Through record without them. You
He
know,
does his
we've had
very
Fuck
best
You
to sell it, doesn't
Forever.
he?
We've
Yeah,
had,
exactly. Yeah.
the Chedometer was going mad on this record, but you got to give it to him. He's so hard, you'd never tell him to his face.
yeah, exactly. And he always seems like a really nice guy as well. To
Yeah,
be fair,
for sure.
So, and I'm not in a band that's 9 albums deep and very genre defying and loved by many. So who am I to say? Who's the one
very
that's in the
true.
wrong here?
None of us really got a leg to stand on in terms of it, have we, to be honest?
But yeah, don't let me say that, but you're like, genuinely go and listen to it. Like, if you preferred the later end of the first era, I guess, you know, the kind of self-titled and the stuff that came later, and then especially the last record they did since they've come back, it's very much followed on from that vibe. I mean, it's certainly not as metalcore as things like This Is Love, where it's much more than that now, isn't it? It's just kind of a straight up, probably much more deathcore now, I guess, record in terms of
considerably more aggressive, isn't it? Like Bleeding Through have that quality where, you know, when you play live, and I mean, you probably don't because you've probably got a good drummer who uses a click live or something, but whenever I've been in a band,
he uses a click. I don't know how good he is.
But like, you know, whenever I've been in a band, you get into the live arena and the drummer just decides to play everything like 25% faster for some reason. And it feels like Bleeding Through are always doing that. Like they've gotten used to playing it at one speed and they go in the studio and the drummer's like, right, I'm going to play it a bit faster. And it always has that like, that, oh my God, like it's losing its runaway train kind of momentum that it has. And I think that comes through on this record so much. And the whole thing, like when we first started looking like, oh, the new Bleeding Through album, me and Sonny were both feel like, oh God, because neither of us have really been that into anything that they've done for quite a long time.
Yeah.
But this record really took me away, like took me aback because it's savage. Like Gallows, the opener is so hard. It's not even funny. Like it's stupidly hard.
There's something about the blasts on the most recent Bleeding Through records, this one, the last one as well, like just the mix that they have on the blasts, and they cut through brutal. So much. Yeah, they're insane. But it doesn't sound stupid. It doesn't sound like super triggered or super clicky or anything like that. It's just really aggressive drum mix. Yeah, it's amazing. I love it.
I'm so stoked that they're still continuing the often well executed but often jarring combination of the synths and the riffs. Like there's a moment in Our Brand Is Chaos where like the synth is almost part of the riff. It's like a chug. It's like and it's like and like the guitar stops so that the synth can continue the same melody. And like, does it actually sound great? Probably not. But is it fucking Bleeding Through to a fucking T? Yes, it is. That is their shit. No one else is out here doing that fucking shit, dude.
Winterplane tried, but they never quite got there. Yeah.
No one else is doing it like them. They, you know, you get all these fucking symphonic deathcore bands coming in trying to like do a Lorna Shore but bad. But Bleeding Through, they're sticking to their guns and they are doing some really wild things with synths. Like the sound often jarring, but like mostly immersive and lovely.
So definitely, if you're a fan of a first time round, go listen to it. If you haven't heard it or you had the same initial thoughts that we might have, or is it really going to be that good? Like genuinely it is, and it's 100% worth however long it is, 40 minutes or whatever of your time to give it a listen. And you will revisit it because you'll be surprised and you'll be like, oh, I need to hear that again.
Yeah, surprise of the like most surprising comeback, I think. Like, well, not that it's a comeback because they have been putting stuff out. To me, it's a comeback because it's in
Yeah.
quality, I guess.
Yeah.
I was chatting to Chris briefly about this from the core, but I think the first single they dropped off the previous one, when they first came back and they dropped that single, I can't remember what it's called, and I was like, fuck me, because it was very much the vibe of this record. Aggressive, fast. I was like, this is amazing. And then when the album came out, I was a bit like, oh, there's not as much on here as I was hoping. Like, that was a real standout. Whereas this, it's that times kind of 10, 11, 12 tracks, whatever it is. So
yeah, massive surprise.
Yeah, definitely go back and listen to that. So before we move on from the pod stuff, last question for both of you. Dream guests for the pod. So I'll ask you both. So Gary first, who would your dream kind of guest be as an interview?
See, I tried to think about this, and I guess probably Skylar Croom from Here's Legend, I think would probably be the one that we'd most love to have. I don't want to put words in your mouth, son, but I reckon we'd most love to have Skylar from Here's Legend on the podcast. He just seems like such an interesting bloke. Like, we are both obsessed with Here's Legend, have been for a long time. It's one of the bands that we bonded over as friends in our early days, because they're the sort of band that people either have not heard or are obsessed with. Like, there's not many people who are like casual Here's Legend fans.
Yeah.
And his lyrics and his themes and everything that he does is so interesting. I'd really love to have a good chat with Skylar Croom.
Very good. How about you, Sonny?
Vincent from the Acacia Strain would be the one.
Yeah.
And I think it could happen. Like, when I was like drunk a couple years back, I messaged him being like, hey, do you want to come on the podcast sometime? And he kind of wasn't ready for him to like even read the message or reply, and he kind of like seemed all right. So I think it could happen. I'm just sort of like working my way up to doing that. Like, we've been trying to do some more interviews lately. Like, I did a couple at the back end of last year, and like trying to make that more of a thing, because like I realized that for the show to grow, realistically, we should have been doing more guests. Like, it's not that we couldn't have done guests, we just genuinely didn't want to. We had this really stupid, and this is not good for anyone's exposure, but like the way that we conducted ourselves for the first like 5 years of the podcast was we're only going to talk to people that we're actually friends with. So like we'd end up like making friends with someone, talking to them for ages, and then inviting them on the podcast. Whereas like, realistically, if you do wish to grow your platform in any way, you should just get guests on all the time, because it's actually really good. Because you're not just screaming at the same people about riffs every week. So I wish we'd have done it more, and like, we are trying to do it more. We've got a couple of good things in the works. Like,
I think especially if a band's got an album coming out and they're on a press cycle anyway, their agencies want them to be chatting to people. So sometimes one thing I've realized from doing this is that's a good time to strike. There have been people I've spoken to in bands, and I've just spoke to them directly, and they've been like, firstly, we have a press that you kind of have to go through. I'm up for doing it, but speak to them. And then you speak to their press and they're like, yeah, they're not doing that because they've got nothing to push at the moment. Like, give us a call back in 6 months when they've got this album to promote or whatever. So there is a little bit of that. So there's a couple that have expressed interest, but then I've been told it's not the right time. So I'm hoping
that sucks, man.
Yeah.
What about you? Who would
sucks.
be your ultimate guest to talk about chippies with?
I've mentioned it a couple of times over the crossover series, but so my big ultimate one, I think, is Rob Halford. He'd be the absolute ultimate.
That'd be cool.
Just in terms of British metal,
man,
I bet he loves a chippy.
Yeah, he loves a chippy, and he's
fucking Rob Halford, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think that'd be the absolute goal. Otherwise, it'd be people similar to you with like the Here's Legend, the people that who were big to me.
Yeah.
Growing up, probably like someone like Jesse from Killswitch, or even any of the guys from Killswitch, really.
That would be cool.
Guys from Poison the Well, Daryl from Glassjaw. Well, the thing is, like, I've quite limited myself with guests because they need
to know what a chip shop is.
Yeah, a huge part of it is the chippy bit. And obviously I got quite lucky with Maddie from who's been the only kind of, well, not the only international. Obviously I've had Evan from Worn Out from Ireland as well, but obviously they're part of the whole greater thing with
they love a chippy over there. They love a chipper.
They love
chicken
with goujons.
Did he call it the chipper?
Chicken goujons.
I'm not sure we did call it the
chicken goujons.
We talked about spice bags though, so we made sure we picked that up. Yeah, so I've kind of limited myself a bit. Now, obviously, there's so many more people in the UK scene, and I can go as big as I can. It's all been relatively low key at the moment, I guess, in terms of size of bands. But the bigger they are, the harder they are to get on, aren't they? So I'm trying to pull favors here and there from some people that I know, and I've got a friend that's recently moved to a company and works in like A&R, and it's like, oh, well, the person where they've moved to has got some pretty big acts. So maybe I can speak to them and see if I can
Nice,
get
man.
anything.
It's not what you know, it's who you know, isn't it?
Yeah, so hopefully that all works out. Anyway, that's given us a nice little segue into the main section of the pod. So this is the section where we discuss the most important part, our chippy teas. So this is the section we call Sonny fucking makes his beam in
That
there.
was
on the
so
radio,
sick.
doesn't it?
I loved it.
I love it when there's two guests on because we get double the chippies, double the helpings. Now, obviously, you're both in the same place, so hopefully we're going to get two different chippies here. We'll start with you first, Sonny. What chip is it that you're taking me to?
My chippy round the corner from me is called the Crispy Cod,
Nice.
and it has never let me down. There's never been a bad chip. It's one of them ones that it's actually a bit of an arsehole to park outside of, but it's so good that I'll often I'll spend 15, 20 minutes driving around waiting for somebody to leave to park up for me to get in there.
Yeah, so it's not walkable then. It's far enough that you have to drive it.
It is walkable, but I am very confident that the chips would deteriorate. Because
Right.
Cold,
So
by the time you
it's
get home,
walkable,
you know.
but not with hot food. I get you. Okay.
probably 10 minutes, but 10 minutes to chips that's like an hour.
Yeah, mine's on the cusp. It's similar. With a good pace, it's probably 8 minutes. So it's just about doable, I think, as long as I get it straight out the box when I get home.
Generally, it'll be me that goes out and gets it, and Jolene she'll stay in with the kid and the dog, and it's just easier for me to go out. So I have to go out. I have to go out and hunt the chips and bring them back. So it's much easier to do in the car,
Yeah.
I think.
Has it been there a while? Is it a long-standing chippy, do you know? Or?
Realistically, I've only been going there for 2 years, but
Yeah.
It's not letting me down.
But inside, does it look fancy and fresh? Or does it look like it's been there for quite a while?
I reckon it's had a bit of a lick of paint. I reckon it's old, but it's one of those ones where it's frustratingly small out the front, and because of all the Uber Eats and stuff now, the sort of the front of it, the bit that you can stand in is very small. After you've done your order, so it's a quite frustrating endeavor with the parking and the standing around all like an idiot for quite a while to get your bounty, but it's so fucking worth it.
I understand. Obviously, Uber Eats, I use it a lot for a lot of things. I would never, ever get a chippy delivered. It's weird, isn't it? I think it's the ceremony of going in, isn't it? And everything about it. I don't know why. And I think you were talking to yourself about how well chips travel and stuff. Even if I knew it was the one I was going to, and arguably it'd get to me quicker on a scooter than it would do with me walking it, there's just something about getting a chippy delivered that, I don't know, it just makes me feel a bit odd.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't get me wrong. I've got an Uber One account. I'm a slob with the rest of us. I will order anything. I'll order wine at 2 a.m. from the local. Getting it from the chippy is weird. I've never done that. I'm not crossed that bridge, and I think I'm going to stay on the right side of it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I agree. Gary, how about you?
Chippy deliveries. That's gonna be something that we're gonna have to get back into at some point. I come from a household where Friday night was chippy tea night, right?
Preach.
Every Friday, without fail, we'd have the chip shop. Talking about chippy chat with you, it brought up a lot of memories. I remember my mum used to buy cod from Iceland that would go in the oven, because looking back on it, we must not have been that financially affluent. But so we'd have chips from the chip shop, and then we'd have
Gary, I think you're jumping the gun. I think this is just about the establishment. The order, that's a whole different section.
You're getting there.
I'm getting there.
There's a preamble.
So we used to go to this chip shop called Pisces, and like you were saying about your chip shop, son, there's nowhere to park out the front. So my mum would make me go and kick me out of the car and go and get the chips, and she'd basically just circle the block until I was done, and I got the chips. Just brought up a lot of good memories of when I was younger. But my local chip shop is called the Horndean Fish Bar. It's relatively new. I think it opened 3 or 4 years ago, and it's absolutely brilliant. I love it. And you're saying about ordering.
Yeah.
You like to go and collect it. And I do like to go and collect it, but also they do deliver, and they're not that far from me. And if I'm feeling really, really lazy, I will order it. But you've got to spend 20 quid to get it delivered.
Easy.
And that's quite a lot of money to spend in a chip shop. So you do have to get quite a lot of food.
You say that, but it depends. Chippies, especially if you're getting something like cod and stuff nowadays, it's not that cheap. So if you were getting cod and chips twice, you're probably not far off that.
But I don't know, I feel like spending 20 quid in the chip shop is quite difficult. But I manage it. I'll take one for the team,
hard
and
chip.
I'll order 2 large chips that I don't actually need just to hit. Or, I'll add bottle of Coke or whatever just to actually hit the £20 threshold.
Yeah, it's like, oh, God, what do I need? It's like, oh, let's just order like a
Yeah.
bottle of vinegar or something. Just
I've got
like...
so many half-filled bottles of vinegar in the cupboard from doing exactly that.
So both of those should be to the crispy cod. You say the Horndean?
Horndean, yeah.
Yeah. And I assume they're both in Portsmouth.
Well, mine's in Horndean, which is like a town sort of a few miles outside of Portsmouth, because I live in the burbs. I don't actually live right in the city where Sonny does.
So you would class yours as Portsmouth then, something?
Yes, for sure.
It's more
Yeah.
central. Obviously, you're having chips. Portion sizes. Sonny, what size portion of chips you getting?
It's always for me and Jolene. We kind of just settled now on splitting a large because the large is so big. Yeah, that's
Right,
split. The absolute standard is split the large. There's always more than enough for both of us. Like we've learned the error of our previous ways.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, especially if they are a substantial one, because some larges in some chippies are like insane.
Yeah.
The problem with me is, one, I'm not very good at sharing food.
Yeah.
I'm a glutton. So if I went to somewhere and I'd be like, my wife might be like, oh, I'm just going to get something in small chips. And I'm like, well, I'm going to get a large cod and a large chips. And it turns up and you're like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
I can't walk away. I can't wrap them up and leave them for later. I'm like, yeah,
I'm
I can't do
absolutely
it.
the same.
So what about you, Gary, in terms of portion size for your chips?
Well, I don't know if you've had any actual legitimate fat people on your podcast yet, but I am one of those. So I will have a large
same.
portion to myself, and my wife will usually have a regular and only eat half of them, and I'll eat half of hers because I'm disgusting.
Well, put me in that disgusting bracket, Gary, because I'm right up there with you. I would do the same. I'll even make a note of that. Large and finishes his wife, because that's a badge of honor.
Yeah.
I mean, reheat chips, yeah, they're fine, but it's not the same, is it?
No.
Like,
No, I mean, you can pop them in the air fryer. They are quite good.
I'm
But
wondering about that. Yeah, I've heated up bad kebab chips like the next day in the air fryer, but I've never like had the chippy ones like left over and thought about it in the air fryer. I can imagine it doing them justice.
it'd be better than the microwave, because the microwave, they just go a bit sweaty.
yeah,
and
no,
stuff.
they do.
yeah.
It does work.
That'd be slop.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to say for all its faults. I'm a big fan of an air fryer, and I know they're a very modern day fad and people get obsessed, but I mean, they are just fucking great, aren't they?
They're unreal.
And like, for the reheating stuff, they're amazing. It's like, if you go to somewhere like, one of the big things that me and my wife do now is, I've talked about this on a previous episode, where I think Wingstop has overtaken McDonald's as our hangover cure food.
Nice.
But what we'll do is we'll order it at lunch, but get like the large amount, which is 12 wings, 3 strips, whatever it is. But then because of the air fryer and the ability to reheat and make it good, we can have it for lunch and for tea. Yeah, but with
Amazing.
so you can kind of
Yes.
spread it out across the day, and so it's perfect for that.
Yeah. We just wallow in front of the TV and just occasionally
day.
get up and air fry a bit
Yeah.
more and just
Watch an
I
entire
love
series of
that.
Yellowstone and just eat
Oh
chicken.
my God, that's like my favorite thing to do. Like sometimes I like being hungover better than I like being drunk, because it's just an excuse to do
Just
nothing, isn't
absolutely
it?
wallow.
As long as she's hungover with you, then you can
Yeah,
both wallow.
absolutely. If
Otherwise,
you're both
you've got to
hungover,
pretend
one of
you're
you-
not useless.
Yeah.
There's a real difference between if you're the individual that's hungover
Yeah.
and you've still got to, be a normal
Partake in
brilliant
society.
person.
Yeah.
and you do extra things to make yourself not seem like a complete fucking
Yeah,
loser.
I could do this. Yeah, something I would never normally do. Yeah, of course I can do that. I'll paint the spare room.
Yeah.
So, Sonny, what's your main accompaniment to your chips?
The crispy cod does battered foot-long sausages,
Okay.
and they are unreal. They are so good.
Nice.
I took a picture of it. I don't know if you can see it right. It's bigger than the plate.
That
Like
looks
that's
amazing.
a normal size plate,
That's not.
and that's the
That's
sausage.
not. Is that battered though?
That's
All
battered,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's not got the thickest batter on. They've got like quite a light batter on it, and it's amazing. It is so good. The standard order is always 1 large chips and 2 battered footlongs, and it comes to $12.20. And for both of us, it's just a beautiful, perfect amount of food.
That sounds amazing. I mean, it looks great. I mean, I do like a battered sausage. I don't know why. It's just because I love a cod from the chippy. But like, if I went there and there was some reason they were like, "Oh, I'm really sorry, we haven't had delivery, we've got no cod," that'd probably be the next thing I'd go to. Because obviously, when you think about footlongs, you think about the classic, like, oh, it's a footlong, like hot dog wrap. But I assume it's still a very much chippy sausage.
Yes, it's very much a very enjoyable sausage.
Is
It's
it 50%
not like
newspaper but still delicious? Like a
Sawdust, yeah.
Richmond.
yeah. It's no, it's of an acceptable quality. It's not like it's not like some
It's not
sort of
Frankfurt sort of
tinned
thing, no, no.
nonsense.
I mean, I
No.
can't judge, bearing in mind what I'm about to say is my my accompaniment of
Abstracting.
choice.
Go on, Gary. Now we're on topic. Let's go.
Go on.
I absolutely love Savoloys.
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah, that's an absolutely traditional.
I know they're made out of pig bum holes, but they taste amazing. And I love a Savoy.
So are pork
my
scratchings, and they're up there with God tier.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Oh,
That's
yes.
it. The grossest parts of the animal usually taste the best. So yeah, my standard accompaniment with my ridiculous amount of chips is 2 Savaloys.
Yeah, oh, yes.
Gotta have 2. One's not enough. And if I'm trying to hit my £20 threshold, then I might order. They do at Horndean Fish Bar. They do these thing called chicken bites, which are kind of like, you know, like how a select is like a step up from a nugget. These chicken bites are kind of like a similar thing, like posh chicken nuggets, essentially, that actually
Like a
feel like they
tender?
might be made out of breast. Yeah, kind of like a tender. They're oh, careful. Not sure.
Sorry about that. That was I tried to mask my cough and then I ended up going and I forgot to press mute.
So yeah, that is. But if I'm trying to hit my my £20 threshold, I'll add the chicken bites in as well. But yeah, my standard order would be 2 Savaloys.
I love it. I love it. Anything that any doubling up is a winner for me.
Always. Yeah, I'm a greedy bastard, and I don't know when enough is enough. But you know, that's my cross to bear.
Wear that badge with pride.
Yeah,
You're not hurting anyone, apart from your arteries. But you're not hurting anyone else, and that's the main thing. Sorry, salt and vinegar. What are we doing?
Yeah, man. And obviously I do think that it always needs topping up when you get back as well. It's never enough.
Yeah, both on both fronts.
Yeah.
Because I guess if you're sharing your chips, you have to be careful because you have to take your partner's preferences on salt and vinegar similar to
Yeah,
yours.
she's the same. And to be honest, she will lead the charge in the re-seasoning. So like it's all good.
That's good. Yeah, as long as you're both on the same wavelength, because
Yeah.
otherwise it could be a bit awkward. And what about yourself, Gary?
yeah, man, I'm the same. Absolutely loads of both. I've got the emergency bottle of Sarsens in the cupboard to top it up when it gets back to the house, and I realise that there's only enough on the top layer, and
That's it.
you know, they never mix it together today. Like, just mix it together. Like, it's all just sat on the top. But when I say about when I was a kid and we used to go to Pisces, they used to do pickle in vinegar. So I think essentially it's just draining the pickle, like the
pickle
jar
juice.
of like pickled eggs or whatever, into a bottle and providing that as an option to put on your chips. But that was always, I just remember it being so much like better than just regular like Sarsens
That
vinegar.
sounds good. Because imagine
Yeah.
if it's like pickled onions and then you put that on, I think that'd be pretty fucking good. Like pickled
Exactly,
onion
man.
vinegar.
That's
on there.
it. Like,
yeah.
I've not seen it anywhere else since. Well, maybe I have, but I just have this vivid memory of it when I was a kid, just being like, "Oh no, mum, I want pickle and vinegar on my chips. Come on, we do it." Like,
Halcyon days.
yeah, oh, it's so good.
The place I used to go when I was a kid actually used to have onion vinegar on the side. And I
that's
imagine
probably the same
now,
thing,
thinking back to it, it's probably the same thing. It's probably just
Yeah,
the pickle juice from the pickled onions that
Yeah, man, I would expect so.
they've reused.
Yeah. I remember once
Respect.
in terms of like vinegar and different types. I think I just made something myself quickly at home, probably in the air fryers, just chuck some fish fingers in for a butty or something like that, and went to put salt and vinegar on and didn't realise that, the Sarsens or whatever, we didn't have any malt vinegar, it had run out. So, but then I looked at it, I was like, I have got some balsamic.
Yes.
Mate,
I mean, I went for it because I'm a classy guy.
I freaking love balsamic vinegar as well.
Yeah,
I will get the bottle and sort of tip it and then just lick it off my finger. Like, I love it. It's so good.
My wife and I, when you go to restaurants and you get like, like bread and oil and balsamic, we're very judgmental on the ratios.
Yeah. It's never right. It's like a little bit of balsamic vinegar at the bottom.
And there's never anywhere they give you too much balsamic. I'm not
No,
sure if that's the
never.
case, but no, it's always not enough. It's
I'm
so
never sure
rare
what the
that
etiquette is of complaining and asking for
yeah,
some
can
more.
I ask
to
for
be
more?
added.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if they've given it you for like free. It's like a little free little thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I can't look a gift horse in
Thank
the
you for
mouth.
this complimentary bread, but it's
Or
not
it-
good enough. Yeah.
Or it'll come with like such a thick layer of oil that it's such an ordeal to even get to the balsamic that it's like that place we went the other day, Gary. Remember like that little donkey bit of bread? Couldn't even get the balsamic.
No, you couldn't even. You were tempted to get in there with a spoon and try and like remove some of it from the top so you could
Yeah.
actually get to the balsamic at the bottom.
You don't need that. This is why this is important. If anyone runs a restaurant or a cafe or anything like that does that, just have a think about it next time.
Just sort your ratios out, guys. Come on,
Sort
it's
your
not
ratios.
that
I
hard.
don't know what the golden one is, but you'll know it when you see
You'll
it. You
figure
can
it
tell
out.
by eye. You don't even need to dip it. You can tell as soon as it lands. It's not rocket science. Moisture, Sonny. Do you get any moisture with your order?
I never used to really be into any moisture whatsoever with my chips. You know, bit of ketchup when I got home, but not over the whole thing, just a bit on the side. Like,
Yeah,
but
for dipping.
since I've been with Jolene, I think it might be because she's Northern Irish, right? Like they fucking love curry sauce. It's like ingrained into the chipper with them. Like it's an equal part of the ecosystem. Whereas it wasn't really for me. So I will often get curry sauce, or
Okay.
I've got some curry sauce at the home that I'll make up, because I do begrudge sometimes paying like £3 and getting fuck all curry sauce. So I'll make up a batch of it at home.
So they're generous with the chips, but not so much with the sauces.
Yeah, the sauce will come in like one of those little pots, and I'm like, and it's not really even as good as the sauce I've got at home. Like, you know, got the one comes in a little
like
box.
the paste. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just sort of heat it up a couple of minutes, and you've got an infinite amount of curry sauce that's superior.
Yeah.
So it's
that's fair enough.
Bit of a skimpy way to live, but you know, got to save the pennies. I can keep feed the family for $12.20. What, you know, I'm fucking keeping it down, bro.
Yeah. Jamie Oliver would be proud.
Yeah.
Gary, what about you?
Mate, I am a ketchup obsessive, and I could see the look in Sonny's eyes. He knows it's probably embarrassing, actually, the amount of ketchup I put on food. I reckon there's probably 4-year-olds who would look at my dinner and be like, "What are you doing, mate? That is embarrassing. What are you playing at?" But I love ketchup, and I put a lot of it on my food. But I also really like the curry sauce from the from the chip shop. But
yeah,
I do this thing which is probably going to gross a lot of people out, where I add some ketchup to the curry sauce to make it a bit thicker and give it a bit of a zingy tomatoiness, which, you know, I'm in for a penny, in for a pound at this point. So
curry ketchup, like obviously you get like
all
all over
curry
ketchup
stuff. Is a thing.
It's fucking great. Yeah.
So
Like the kind of
just
breakfasty sort of stuff. Yeah.
Add some ketchup into the curry sauce and kind of stir it in with a chip to kind of mix them together. Use a chip, you know, so you don't have to make a spoon dirty, because you ordered a chip shop. You don't have to do any washing up. That's half the beauty of going to the chip shop for dinner.
Yeah.
Because there is no washing up afterwards, because you eat with your fingers. It tastes really good. I'll tell you one thing I do hate, though, which is mushy peas. My wife will always have mushy peas, and I think they are disgusting. Oh my God.
Have you had them with like shitloads of salt and vinegar?
I don't think I could bring myself to eat them. Is that a way to make them bearable? Like, I just think they're horrible.
I don't know about bearable. It's just I know it's a bit of a thing. Like I like a mushy pea with salt and, like, especially vinegar.
Yeah,
there's something about the thing, because I think obviously mushy peas peas in general are quite sweet, aren't they?
Yeah, true.
Well, I think obviously mushy peas, they have like a sweetness to them, because obviously I think they use like the marrowfat peas, don't they? So, but like,
so you try and knock it back with some vinegar.
I guess it gives it more of a tang, and whether it, like, I don't know what it does, but I mean, it's worth a try on a little spoonful next time. If you're not into it, you're not
next time
into
we have
it,
the chippy, I am going to give that a go. I'm going to try.
I reckon you'll enjoy it. Sometimes it can just be quite muddy in taste, like mushy peas. Like they're often not amazing, but yeah, they just need a bit of spicing up. I reckon you'll dig it.
A bit of seasoning, yeah.
Maybe I should squirt some ketchup in them as well. That might make it taste better.
Get in there.
Do either of you order anything to eat while you're waiting?
I've been known to order myself something to have in the car on the way home.
Yeah.
But then that's because I'm now admitting that I'm a secret eater, and that I snuffle away little extra bits when no one's looking.
What would it be? Would it be a third Savoy?
No, I a fish cake. They do really nice fish cakes, and I'll grab myself a little cheeky fish cake, and like, because they're quite good to eat, because you know it's got like it's in the paper and you kind of eat it like the bit that's sticking out, like you would do a hash brown when you went to McDonald's. And I had that in the car on the way home, so I've got got my dinner on the passenger seat with the seat warmers on to keep it warm, obviously, because that really helps.
Trick.
Classic, that extra
but
20 degrees.
Better, it's like all like putting it in the footwell with the heater on.
That's it.
And I might just sort of yam a little fish cake on the drive home. Love it.
Yeah, perfect. Sonny?
Nah, no secret munching for me, but I will apply that to other like more gluttonous situations, like, you know, extra things at Mackey's and KFC, like when I can be very sneaky about it.
Yeah.
Thanks. Trying to make me feel better about admitting to being a disgusting secret eater.
Oh yeah, you got to get an extra. If you've not noshed
one for the road, mate.
Yeah, if you've not had like a road double cheeseburger while you're bringing home the goods, like, what are you up to?
Yeah. It's like when you go to the shop, I'm going to go to the shop. It's like, I'm going to get like a chocolate bar, but I'm going to eat this on the way back. I'm not going to take all
before I get back. And I'm
going
to put it in the bin outside so no one sees it.
This is my reward for going to the shop.
Yeah, man, you deserve it. Hunter-gatherer.
Down in Portsmouth, are there any like local specialties in the chippies down there?
Have you ever been to Fisherman's Wharf, son, on Osborne Road? I think we went there once for dinner.
You mean
and they
Fisherman's
do, like,
Kitchen?
Fisherman's Kitchen, that's what it's called.
Yes.
Sorry, my
yes.
bad. And they do scraps, which I think is essentially just all the little bits that fall off of everything that cooks.
I fucking know what scraps are, son.
That's an old school thing. My mum always talks about them from a kid.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe that's not. I mean, we have a lot of fish. It's a seaside town. As a person who doesn't necessarily order fish from the chip shop, I don't necessarily know what the specialties are, but I do know the scraps, which I think is just all the little bits and pieces that drop off.
Just a bit of batter that they fish out. Yeah.
They're just absolutely delicious. They're like a heart attack waiting to happen for sure, but they're absolutely amazing.
You get them a lot more up north. You get them a lot less down south. So I haven't found a chippy in Bristol yet, or at least my go-to and the other local sort of one don't do them.
They don't offer it.
But when you go, especially up to like Lancashire, Yorkshire, it's just almost like a given to get like a bag of scraps or whatever. And again, just like a bag of them with a bit of salt and vinegar or whatever.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
There's one in Denmead. When I used to go to hang out with my mates in Denmead, like, which is just like a little bit closer to where Gary lives.
That's sort of where I am.
That chippy used to do like battered anything. Like you could get like battered Mars bars, battered Snickers, battered like whatever, like any sort of that
burgers.
business.
That's another great one.
And yeah, like battered Mars bars are unreal. They are unreal.
The big one I want to try is the big one they do in Scotland. Obviously Scotland's favourite, but you know, like the pizza crunch where they kind of batter a pizza slice. I'd really love to. Yeah. I'd be a big fan of giving that a go.
I reckon one of those would take 3 years off your life, but it'd be totally worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I love fucking pizza. Like someone suggested when I was talking about potentially, talking to more American guests, they were like, just like change it up and
just pivot into
do like pizza instead, because everyone likes pizza. So it could be something we could go into, but maybe like I do a spin-off.
Like an internet. Like when you do this series of like crossovers with other podcasts, you could do a series of like international spin-offs where you could do like, I don't know, bratwursts with people with German bands or something. I don't know.
not that we support stereotypes.
Yeah, of course not. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. And then what's he gonna do? Is he gonna do frog sleds with a couple of French bands? Is he, Gary? Is he?
Oh dear. Keep my mouth shut. What am I doing?
Right. Last thing you've told the chip shop is tins of pop. So Sonny, are you getting a tin of pop?
Yeah, it depends if they've got it in, but like I love a Lilt. If there's a Lilt, I'm having that. Lilt or Fanta Lemon are my go-tos at all time.
Obviously, Lilt R.I.P. in peace.
R.I.P.
With the angles now. But are you a fan of the Fanta Tropical? Which
I'll take it. I'll take it. Like if it's there, I'm having it, and I'll still call it Lilt, and they'll know what I fucking mean.
Yeah. Like Starburst and Opal Fruits. Like just refuse to change it.
Like your dad still calls a Snickers a marathon. Like it's
because of woke.
Yeah. It's called woke. Why can't you just call it Lilt?
So a Lilt, but if they don't have a Lilt, what's your backup? Anything? Is it just somewhat else tropical, like a Rio? Or
no, I'm not really into any of the other tropical drinks. I wouldn't like have I just very, very specifically adore Fanta Lemon and Lilt. Other than that, I will default to a Pepsi Max. That's
always the classic.
That's always going to be there.
The easy option, 100%. Gary, what about yourself?
Oh, my all-timer beverage of choice is Pepsi Max Cherry. I adore that stuff. I don't know what it is. I think there might be like some crack in it or something because I can't get enough of it. It's so good. But I don't think they do it in the chip shop, but I will get a Dr. Pepper from the fridge of the chip shop because for some reason, like I don't know if it's because it's got a door on it, whereas like in the shops, usually the fridges are open, but there is the coldest fridge I've ever come across. And honestly, I reckon it's related to Sub-Zero, dude. Like it's so cold.
It's a member of the Lin Kuei clan.
It really is. And I think the colder the better when it comes to drinks. Like I'll put my drinks in the freezer and try and catch them just before they start turning to ice. So I'll usually get a Dr. Pepper from the chip shop, but only because they don't sell Pepsi Max Cherry. Although the chances are I'll have some Pepsi Max Cherry in the fridge at home already waiting for me anyway.
Yeah, I see what you mean, like cold cans, and I think that's why I specifically stick to tins. Like I appreciate you can get the stuff, but I guess obviously the can gets cold. There's something about a drink being in a can. I think it's like the peak drinking receptacle.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And also, I hate the fact, when you get the 500ml bottles and now the tops of them stay attached.
Oh, fucking don't get me started.
Again, because woke, like they're staying there for the recycling.
that is 100%.
And it does matter. You're trying to drink it and a fucking cap keeps hitting you in the nose or whatever. Like, it's so annoying.
One of the bonuses of that is, now I don't know if many of you go to the football that lot, but if you buy a bottle of pop at the football, quite often
Oh, they take
they'll
the lid
they
away,
take the
don't
lid
they?
off you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they don't know that centrifugal force exists and that I can still throw a full bottle at a player or another fan, and the liquid will stay in the bottle, and that weight will remain behind that missile.
If I hate the player enough or the referee is enough of a wanker, I will do it.
It's like, do you not think I'm going to the match with a pocket full of 2p's for a reason? But the good thing about that thing is, like, a lot of the time now, you might be able to keep it. I always used to have the classic thing as well, because I knew they were going to do it. I'd just keep a lid in my pocket. So as soon as they took it off,
That's a good idea.
no flies on me, son.
Absolutely, man. That's clever.
But yeah, no, that really does do my fucking head in.
Yeah, it's so annoying. And then you try and rip it off yourself and you end up flinging the drink away or something. Like, oh,
Yeah, it's a
pisses me
dangerous
off.
game.
Pisses me off royally, that does.
None of that with cans.
And cans are the perfect, like, you could get two, smash one before you get back. No one knows. No, I only got one can.
The can in one hand, fish cake in the other. Don't worry about the steering wheel. That'll figure itself out. Like,
Cars drive themselves nowadays, don't
yeah,
they?
isn't it? Elon Musk's got to be good for something, isn't he?
I think we've kind of covered all the chippy stuff there in loving detail. So we'll move into our last section now, which obviously gives you an opportunity to tell us what's coming up in the world of the heaviest.
Awesome.
And this section is called So yeah, what have we got coming up in the world of the heaviest?
We've got a bunch of interviews. By now, we've probably just done an interview with Zachary Ezrin from the band Imperial Triumphant.
Oh, great, yeah.
Super interesting, really just absolutely mad as a box of frogs, that band is. They are...
They're a challenging
one of-
listen, but it's rewarding.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You have to earn it. And this new record is fantastic. So we've probably just had a really lovely chat with him that you can go and check out. What else, Gary?
Other than that, just, it's a weekly show. So come over and just have a watch of the old YouTube channel, check it out, or listen to us on Spotify or everywhere else. I hate when people do everywhere you find your podcast. But yeah, it's out there. Like, every week we're just talking about the latest and greatest new heavy music, talking riffs, having a laugh, mucking about. Maybe we might throw in the occasional review of something we think's rubbish, which has become a thing we've decided we want to do a bit more of, just because it's so much fun. And also it's quite fun to piss people off and get really like aggy people in the comments on YouTube, which they're a lot of fun to interact with.
Yes. Yeah, like shitting on the new Linkin Park record was fun as fuck.
Oh,
was so fun.
It was so funny. And the amount of people who were like personally affronted by us not liking a record that they liked was just amazing. So
it's like Twitter. If you're ever bored, it was really easy. You just pick a particular crowd with a crazy fandom, and you wouldn't even have to at anybody. You just mention it, and they're monitoring it all the time. Like, the Michael Jackson crowd was always a really easy one to wind up one night.
The
if you wanted
Taylor
to get it.
Swift crowd are quite easy to upset.
The Taylor Swift ones jump on anything. Yeah, there's
mate.
a few. Yeah, like you don't even have to really say anything particular thing. Just something to do to pass the time.
But yeah, nothing specific. But just come and check out the heaviest. Come and listen to us talking riffs and mucking about and having fun. It's a good community, and we've got a really good Discord with a really good group of awesome people, and it's kind of like we were quite heavily involved in our local music scene for a time, but the local music scene's kind of died. So I like to think of our Discord as like that kind of community vibe just transported to the internet. And it's like a local community, but it's worldwide, and just love hanging out. So come join the Discord and just give us a listen, give us a watch. It's a lot of fun.
Do you have a particular day that you try and get stuff out on, or is it just when you try and get one a week, but it's just when it's ready? There's no...
Usually Thursdays, but we play fast and loose, which is just depending on life and schedules and stuff, and whether or not Sonny's kid went to bed at the right time, or he was a bit more difficult to put down that night. That might push us to the next day, but generally it's Thursday nights.
For anyone again who's not heard it in the past, it's not like there's not much that they can catch up on. Like I say, just looking on your Spotify now, there's 260 episodes on there.
Catalogue you could check out.
Past 3 or 4 that are on there. So you've got an interview with Harry from God Complex.
Big up Harry, love that guy.
Who again have just put out an incredible new EP that everyone should check out. That's so fucking good. So again, another great UK band doing good things. And then there's a chat purely about the newest Killswitch record. And then there's a shorter episode, which is what's called the January Riff Roundup, just chucking some bands and some songs out from the start of the year. So that just gives you a taste of the sort of things that are on there. So a real nice mix of dedicated bands, mix of albums, album of the year reviews,
Absolutely.
things like that. So there's plenty of places to start to wet your whistle for sure.
sure.
Yeah,
And
I would say that genuinely we like there is so much music that comes out and like so much that we could cover that we're like, I would say that generally like every week we're talking about something we're like really actually brilliantly like excited about, like, and so if you do enjoy any kinds of heavy music, be it like black metal, hardcore, death metal, black and jazz, dissonant post metal with a cherry on top, like
Going back to Imperial Triumph. And
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Even though it should be easier with the internet and things like this, but to find new bands, if anything, I actually think it's harder because Spotify thinks it knows what you like, but it really doesn't.
Shit.
So yeah, and it doesn't know shit. And so, like, you know, sometimes if you listen to a full album, maybe what it goes into next sometimes is usually quite good. But when you go onto those, oh, here's your Discover weekly playlist, you're like, fuck, you
Absolutely.
at all, sort of thing. And it never seems to learn. Like, it's like you never pick up on the fact that I skip this band every single time, but yet you still keep like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
So it's a real nice, easy place for once a week to just chime in for half an hour, 45 minutes, and just listen to some good recommendations of what is, you know, sometimes it's bigger bands, but which is a lot of the time good up and coming bands that need people talking about them and need people listening to them.
We kind of like to try and help people discover their next favorite record, you know, like we just want people to be as excited about new music and, you know, smaller underground acts as we are.
And I imagine there's plenty of that in the Discord as well. It's just
loads.
Yeah, the Discord
loads.
is just such a great place, like for discovering anything. Like we sort of have it broken down by genres and different channels. Like if you're like sitting right now and you're like, oh, you know what, I haven't heard a sick black metal record in ages, come on down, check it out. Like guarantee you scroll there for 2 seconds and your socks will be just on the other side of the room.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, the perfect place for a pair of socks.
Yeah, for sure.
Check out the Heavyist, listen to some back episodes, catch up on some new ones, discover a bunch of new bands. And I think we've pretty much covered everything. So Sonny, Gary, thanks for getting up your Wednesday evening to chat to me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Really enjoyed the chat. And yeah, I'm sure I'll catch up with you guys soon.
Absolutely.
I'm really hungry now.
It does that too. It's ruthless. That was Sonny and Gary from the Heavyist podcast. Sonny took us to the Crispy Cod in Portsmouth. He had a large chips that he'll split with his wife and a foot-long battered sausage. He's having salt and vinegar that he'll probably add more to at home, a pot of curry sauce and a can of Lil. Gary took us to Horndean Fish and Chips, which funnily enough is in Horndean, Hampshire. He didn't fuck about and got large chips, 2 Savoys and some chicken bites with loads of salt and vinegar. He got curry sauce on the side that he mixed with some ketchup and a fish cake for the car journey home. What a man. He washed the whole lot down with either a cherry Pepsi Max or a Dr. Pepper. This was the last episode of the podcast crossover mini-series. It was great to be back in the saddle, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. All going well, I'll be back soon with another full season. As always, I want to see your chippy teas too, so don't forget to tag us in any pics or let us know your favourite local chippy on socials using @RiffandChips. Thanks to Rob Collier for providing the dive bomb, Edgar Gibbs for the screams, and Ryan Westwood for the artwork. Take care.